Hi everyone, Sagrannus here, and today we're going to be looking at Bandai Namco's new MOBA, Supernova, which is a sci-fi MOBA that is currently in closed beta, which means I will be voicing opinions here on an unfinished product, so please bear that in mind when making a decision later on down the line as to whether you want to play this game or not. And the other thing to note is that I'm not the biggest MOBA player on earth, but I will do my very best to give you a semi-informed opinion based on my experience with some of the MOBAs I have played, and also as a gamer in general. Now, originally this game was actually going to be used as part of my Sagrannus gaming plays, just like World of Warships, but after a few little plays of it, I've opted to not do that because I felt that it wouldn't be in the best interests of the channel interest-wise, or the most entertaining thing for you to watch at present. There are a number of reasons for that, which I will address over the next 10 or so minutes. I will, of course, emphasize that this is closed beta, so it's not necessarily representative of the final product, and that I'm not actually receiving any sponsorship whatsoever for this, so these are purely my opinions, uninfluenced by any purchases or anything like that. This is a free-to-play closed beta I have access to thanks to a promotion by a third party. Bandai Namco in no way has asked me or paid me to have a look at this game. So, let's just have a quick chat. At the moment, you're just seeing me playing around in the store in the background there, just to show you what's available. You have both cosmetic alterations you can purchase with in-game credits or premium credits called Platinum, and you can also look at buying actual gameplay alternate things, new commanders, units, and technologies, which all have an impact in the game. You can, of course, craft equipment for all commanders to be using when they go into battle, and you can equip various upgrades to your units as well, because you do have a role to play as choosing what units you deploy. You can choose to go in as either a human faction or the cyborg faction, and then choose what makes up your constantly spawning army. Now, I was selecting there a sniper character. It has the fairly standard arrangement of heroes that you can play as. There are a few little issues at the moment with balance, especially that sort of the bruiser melee classes seem to be able to tank a little bit too much damage and do a little bit too much damage. And while, of course, that class is always supposed to be a bit like that, they seem to be overly so. Now, as you can see, I'm just playing with the upgrades there. I do go quite quickly. And then you also have 3 choosable deployable moves there, and then a 4th one that you get at level 5, which is a superpowered one, which is obviously a very slow cooldown. Above that, you can see that there are at the moment 3 sort of consumable moves, as they were. Now, as you can see, the game's actually quite a good-looking game. It's got an interesting setting. It's a new IP from Bandai Namco, and it's a sci-fi setting, which is a little bit of a change to what we usually see in MOBAs. That said, that's not necessarily going to make it stand out all that much. It still plays like a normal MOBA. At least at present, there isn't a whole lot separating it from the other players in the field, which I think is actually going to be quite a problem for it, because, as you can imagine, League of Legends and Smite kind of have the lion's share of the market at present. Even StarCraft with Heroes of the Storm caused a stir initially, but didn't seem to be able to hold that stir so well. I mean, it's still got a good, solid player base, but it's definitely shrunk since launch, as is the nature with most games. However, the problem is here we've got a new IP by a company who's probably not as well known as Blizzard. Bandai Namco are obviously fairly well known. Most of you probably recognise the name. But the problem is that Heroes of the Storm offered the fact that you could play as heroes you know and love from other games in their franchise, whereas these are all new heroes. Now, they're actually very interesting heroes. They have fantastic dialogue as you're playing, and they all have great designs. And, of course, there are cosmetic changes you can put on them later, which actually make them quite different in appearance. As for the gameplay, as you can see, it's fairly standard. You've got lanes, you've got towers of sorts that you take out, you face opposing forces coming in, and you face heroes. Obviously, I died there, and I've just cut out the dying and waiting periods, because that's extremely dull to watch. You can only actually apply, as you can see, there's an upgrade button there. Those upgrade your stats and also give you proficiencies. You can only upgrade them at the home base, behind where you spawn, which is behind the auger. The auger being the final target for both teams to destroy. And it's defended by shields and actually has a very powerful defense itself to take out enemy forces. As you see there, I just popped up very quickly the balance of forces, so you can see how strong your armies are in comparison to the others. And you can, of course, as you can see in the bottom right there, choose what forces go in. You can also research new tech for them and that kind of thing, which actually makes it quite an interesting game. And all the players on the team do that, so all the waves are a little bit different and have different units. And if you have people on your team who have purchased higher level units to deploy, they will actually be deploying heavier tanks and things like that. And I do like that. That's a very nice element to the gameplay. But whether it's a game changer or not in the long run, I don't know, because you're not super involved with the armies. I mean, you've got a nice bit of control, but that's about it. Ultimately, it's still about your hero against whatever you can fight. There are neutral critters, as you'd expect, or sorry, not neutral critters so much as neutral creeps, which you can fight, and there are special events within the spaces between the lanes, which is also quite nice. In this game, my team actually does not use any of them, and neither does the opposing team, which is actually an AI here. I'm deploying my special move there, which is quite powerful. As I said before, balance is a big thing. I mean, this is taken 27 minutes into the match, and I'll talk about the length of the games in a second. But it takes a long time for some characters to actually be any good at all. I spent the first 20 or so minutes of the game basically, bit of lag there, basically just trying to survive, getting killed a heck of a lot. I mean, those are the kill scores at the top there. As you can see on the left, we've killed 18. The heroes 18 times, they've killed us 34 times. Purely because of the makeup of the heroes, not because anyone's particularly poor player. It's purely that at the moment, it just seems the heroes are unbalanced. And you'd think, especially in the AI side of things, when you're actually facing AI opponents, it would actually better balance your opponents so you have a more interesting game. Now, going on to the length of the matches, it's a big problem, to be honest, at the moment, because it's fairly bog standard gameplay at present. As I said before, it is still a closed beta, but at present it's still bog standard MOBA gameplay, and even the setting doesn't really change it that much. I mean, the animations are pretty, the sound effects are pretty, the music's very good, and of course the voiceover is great, but you don't buy MOBAs for those. You buy them for the gameplay, the rush, the fun, the excitement, the intensity. And that's just not there at the moment. I mean, on average, the matches I've played have spanned from anything from 25 to 40 minutes in length. This one, I think, clocking out at about 40. And that's not so good. That's a long time to play. Essentially the same thing over and over again. At the moment, we've only got one map to play on. And when you spend the first half of the match grinding to just be able to even damage enemy heroes, especially tanks, that's not fantastic. And honestly, I found this is the main reason I actually decided not to stream this game or to make it a part of my Sagrannus Gaming playlist, purely because I just felt that no one really wants to sit and watch the same map with similar heroes, similar makeups, for that long. I mean, if they were 15-20 minute matches with a really high amount of intensity, that'd be great. But the pace just doesn't seem to be there as yet. It's quite a slow-paced bit of game at present, and that's a big problem, I'm afraid. I really hope they sort this out, because at the moment the urgency of the gameplay isn't there, and I think also the feedback of the gameplay isn't there. You're still sort of pointing and clicking, which isn't so great. Unfortunately, this match was quite laggy. I dare say that it's a large part of that's just purely my joyful Australian internet connection. But there is a problem I've noticed, that the ping, I'm assuming this is only to do with their servers, but my ping on this is about 2.5 times the ping I see on any other online game. And so I imagine that the servers aren't quite up to the load at present. And as you can see, this is the sort of the end game attempt here. So that large unit in the middle there is the auger, which is your target, and then it has shields on it. And you can only destroy the shield of the lane you've come in on, and then attack it from there. So ideally you want to smash all the shields by having everyone come in on different lanes. This match was Probably one of the more interesting ones to play because the AI really forced us back really hard before our heroes got up, because we had 2 snipers on our team and supports and tanks. We didn't actually have, I think we had 1 bruiser, whereas the enemy had 2 bruisers and an assassin, which meant they were doing a lot more damage and able to take a lot more damage than us, which is a bit of a shame, but we managed to turn things around at the end. But the big problem, as I said, is at the moment it doesn't really delineate or separate itself from everything else in the crowd. It looks nice, it's a nice setting, nice sound effects, nice voiceovers, nice unit design, but it's still a bog standard MOBA underneath all that, and that, I think, is what will hold this game back. Hopefully things will change drastically from this closed beta as it goes into open beta and then finally into launch, because in many ways this game does attract me quite strongly, and I think it will be great if it can actually differentiate itself from the others in the field, especially League of Legends and Smite and even Heroes of the Storm, because as many of you may be aware, a lot of MOBAs have a really strong following early on, and often that's because of the fan base coming from elsewhere. For example, DC and Marvel have the advantage of pulling in people who wouldn't actually normally play these games, or pull in fans and franchises. Whereas this is a new IP, so it's going to have to prove itself. Okay. So I'll just wrap up there. Thank you for watching this. If you have any comments, please leave them below. Please subscribe. And thank you for watching. I've been Sagrannus, and this has been my semi-informed opinion.